Hi, I'm Jessica.
Hi, I'm Christeena.
And you're watching Game of Tomes. Today we're going to be talking about The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. This is our spoilery discussion.
Yes.
So, if you're watching this, you have indeed read the book. If you have not, check out our review. Links below. Links below. Below. Okay. So, what did you think of it?
I really, really enjoyed this book. A lot.
Yeah.
And you were ahead of me. And Slayanne Samantha Leanne is...
That's her channel name, right?
Yes, okay. Samantha Leanne. And so she had read it, and she hit me up on Twitter and said, "Hey, I see you're reading this on Goodreads. What do you think so far?" And I was like, "I'm really liking it." And I tagged you in it, and I was like, "Jess is reading it too." And Jessica said, "I really like it. It's really depressing." And Samantha
she said
like,
it was really depressing.
She said it was.
No, she goes, "It's really depressing." And I was like, "Yeah, it is."
And I was like,
the most depressing.
"It's not depressing to me." And you guys were like, "Just wait." And like the more I kept going, I was like, whatever. And then I was like, oh, here it is.
I thought the beginning was depressing even.
I mean, I did a little bit in parts, but I didn't really.
I could see what you're saying.
Yeah. I kind of really, really enjoyed it. And then when she got back home, it was more of like a seriousness to it.
Yeah. That's when she really broke.
Yeah, and it was really sad. I read somewhere. It was. Okay, there's a foreword, and in the foreword it talks about girls reading it in the 60s and how people were really surprised of how quick you could spiral into depression, because they were like, oh, she was doing so great in the novel and stuff, and then she went home and was just really awful, which I kind of could get the undertone of it even from the beginning.
Yeah.
But I think it spoke a lot to women in the 60s, especially with the whole feminist movement and everything, and they were like, wow, you know, like we would have never thought that that could happen that quick and just like down spiral. He mentioned something about it in the foreword, and I was like, okay. And I could see that, but
I didn't end up finishing the foreword because I didn't want to, you know,
spoil it.
Like I didn't want it to know what it was.
I thought about not doing that because we didn't want to go into it knowing anything, but I was like,
I mean, whatever, it's the foreword.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah. So I feel like I'm a super indecisive person, and that like depicts it perfectly, because like I want to go back to work, but then I'm like, but I don't want to miss out on time with Fred. But if I just finished school, then I could have done this and done that, and like I can torture myself just thinking and thinking and thinking of everything that I could have done and the wrong paths that I've taken, or to the point where like I'm almost terrified to do anything because I don't want to like make anything worse or miss out on anything. And it's like a suffocating feeling sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think that passage was like perfect for that.
It was. Yeah, she's talking about the fig tree analogy.
Yeah.
And letting your paths just pass you by.
Because you can't decide which one to take. Like, I could be a professor, or I could do this. And that's...
And sometimes your path is chosen for you, and then all the other paths kind of die off because...
Yeah.
And it may seem that way, but actually, you know, you have time to do things. You really do have time, but you got to work harder at it.
Yeah, I like to psych myself out a lot. I have a son. He wasn't planned. It was...
I have a son who wasn't planned.
But I mean, that does not take away any much of how much I love him or anything, regardless.
Of course.
But of course, there are times where I'm like, wow, what if it didn't happen? You know what I mean? Which I would never take it back.
Of course.
In any way. But I mean, like sometimes I can think too much on that. Like, oh, it's going to be harder to go to school now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be harder to do this. But I mean, like, you just have to work at it more. And there's a lot of things that, like, I can sit and psych myself out about a lot, and to the point where I just won't do anything because I'm just scared of making a wrong move or doing something and then not liking it. But, I mean, like, I could always just take it back. Like, I could just, like, not do it. I could just quit if I don't like it, you know? But I just psych myself out about stuff, and I feel like this really spoke to me on that level of it.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it because she really wanted to be a writer, but of course, like, she's a woman,
and that's another thing, like the misogyny of the time.
Oh my gosh, yes. I put hypocrisy and sexism is what I wrote in this. She was talking about when her mother gave her that book that the woman lawyer had wrote. And the woman lawyer had wrote, of course they would try to persuade a girl to have sex and say they would marry her later, but as soon as she gave in, they would lose all respect for her and start saying that if she did that with them, she would do that with other men, and they would end up by making her life miserable. So basically, she was saying, like, you have to be pure. Whether your man is or not, you need to be pure. And it's like...
Oh, I remember that story.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when, what's his name, grabbed her arm with the diamond.
Oh my gosh.
And he was like, oh, well, maybe I'll do something to earn a diamond. And then, like, throwing her in the mud at the party and everything, I was like...
He ripped her clothes.
Yeah. And she was fighting back, and, like, I was like, yeah, girl.
Me too, yeah.
Yes, girl.
Yes.
Because at first I thought she was just going to, like, not do anything.
Yeah.
And then she started fighting back, and I was like, yes.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that goes to show, like, with her, she wanted to be a writer and stuff, but then also, like, she couldn't because of the sexism back then and things like that, and it just, like, spirals her into her, not per se that by itself, but, you know.
I think she could have been a writer, even with the sexism. I mean, it
Yeah.
was the 60s, so there were, I mean, there was that editor who was a female.
Yeah, she was, yeah.
I don't know, I just think she was seeing maybe the hypocrisy of the business she was in, of fashion, also.
Well, because then they wine and dined everybody and had party and basically had every little thing scheduled for all these women. Her friend was going out and hanging out with boys and not sticking to the schedule, and she kind of hung out with her for a little bit, but...
I was thinking about them getting poisoned. Like, what was that?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I thought that maybe the place she was in had poisoned them on purpose. Not the restaurant,
oh, really?
like that it wasn't an accident and they were going to like take her off somewhere and she was going to be, I don't know, held against her will or something. That didn't happen, so that's good.
That is really good. That sounds really, I didn't think that. That sounds really crazy.
Yeah.
At first I just thought like, she was just sick because she ate so much. And then the other girl got sick and then everybody else did. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah.
The writing style was really interesting and I actually really liked it. How she would kind of like go into one, there would be like a scene that would happen and then immediately after that it was another scene.
Yeah, for me that was sometimes a little confusing the way she jumped, especially the part about the sailor, because then like it was something completely different and then she was meeting with a sailor once or twice and thought that she could lose her virginity to him, and then like you just never heard anything else about him, which was okay. For me, I was a little lost at times and it took me a second to kind of like, I would have to go back and be like, huh? I'm like, oh, okay. Like, completely different time. Because she doesn't separate it or anything, which is fine. For me, I just found, like, I had a little more hard time with that. But it didn't, like, diminish the experience for me, though, reading it wise.
I liked it.
Good.
I felt like, it felt like more like a, when you're in a depression, like, things can feel dream-like. Like, you can have flashbacks of one thing to the next. And, like, you're just kind of floating through life. And the whole bell jar thing, finding out what that meant.
Yeah.
Which is also very Catcher in the Rye, come to think of it. Because you don't know what Catcher in the Rye is until you read the book.
I haven't read
And
it.
I didn't know what the bell jar meant until you read it.
And not till close to the end, either. It was pretty later in the book.
It was. And she just feels like she's in her own atmosphere. And things are happening around her, but, like, she's separated, you know, with this glass between them. Her and everyone else. Like, she just feels alone even when she's with people, and, like, I get it.
Yeah.
I can get that. Yeah. I thought it was really amazing. The whole electroshock thing with the other guy.
Oh, I was just thinking of that this morning, too. I was like, what book did I just read where she was, like, begging her, like, please tell me when you're going to do it. And she didn't tell... I was so heartbroken when she didn't tell her. Like, I really thought she's going to catch a break. They're going to tell her. And she didn't.
But she was still there for her. She was like, I thought you wouldn't be able to sleep.
Yeah.
She was a really good doctor, and I'm glad she had her benefactor to help her move over to the good
better
residential
hospital.
home.
Yeah.
Recovery, whatever you would call it.
I think that was one is that I had wrote.
So her friend that committed suicide, do you remember her name?
Oh.
She ended up hanging herself.
Dee Dee? Was it Dee Dee?
I don't remember her name.
I don't either. Maybe
But the whole thing with when, like, before she told the girl, she said something really rude to her, our character, whose name is Esther.
Esther. The girl said something rude to Esther?
No, Esther said, like, you're nothing to me. I think she comes to her, and I think the girl was a lesbian, and at the time
because wasn't that when she walked in?
She walked in, and then she came to her later, and Esther was like, you're nothing to me. I don't remember what she said to her.
Yeah.
But I was like, why did you say that?
It was really rude, yeah.
And then she commits suicide.
Ooh, yeah. That was right after that, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. But then she had moments with her afterwards where she seemed like to be her friend. So that's one thing that I didn't understand, like why she said that to her.
Yeah.
Why Esther said that to the girl. So she loses her virginity.
Yeah.
And then she hemorrhages.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that happening.
I haven't either, but I'm slightly curious because she was going through some form of birth control, you know, because she went to the doctor, and then she mentioned something about how she was glad that she was practicing her birth control in the mornings. And they didn't go into detail about what that would have been, but I'm wondering if maybe that had something to do with it.
Maybe, and I didn't even consider that.
That's what I originally thought, but then the doctor told her that she was like 1 in a million of that happening.
And he said that he could help her and fix it.
Yeah, and then they didn't say anything else about it. That was it.
And we know in real life she has kids, so...
Yeah, real life Sylvia Plath does, yeah.
So...
She had 2 kids, didn't she?
If that really happened to her, I would assume that she...
Because that's what I thought when he said something about where he laughed and said, yeah, I can fix it. I was like, but can she have kids? No, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That was painful. Being a woman and to read about that, it was so painful to read.
Yeah, and this was a time, this was before 911 existed.
Yeah.
So, I can't remember what year 911 happened, but, like, they were trying to call around to get someone to come and help.
And everybody kept laughing and hanging up. Not everybody, but one guy, once she tried to explain to them about, like, it had to do with a period or women problems, I know they had a couple of hang-ups. People weren't interested.
Which is ridiculous.
They ended up calling the hospital because they couldn't get a doctor to come out. And, like, just as, like, to be in that situation and to just basically kind of meet this guy and then decide to lose your virginity and stuff, and then, like, I would be, like, the embarrassment of it, the pain, the discomfort, and then, like, it just makes me cringe as a woman, you know, like, and then his attitude about it, like, she had sent him the bill, and then had to call him and was like, you didn't pay it. You didn't pay it.
And then, which was crazy, but, and I don't know if I should even include this, but, like, when she was, at one point, all she wanted to do was commit suicide and to kill herself. And
she kept talking about how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, she would see different ways to do it, and she would try to carry it out. And it was like, when she woke up after the pills, I almost felt bad for her that she didn't succeed. And that surprised me. That I could feel bad that someone couldn't commit suicide. Or that someone failed at it.
Well, I think that says a lot about, like, the powerfulness of her writing and her writing style. Because, and that's one thing that I thought, like, I don't know for certain, but if it felt more real to me because, like, when she was thinking about all these ways, she was just like, yeah, you know? Like, when she went swimming, or when they crossed over the bridge in the car with her mom and her brother and stuff like that, she was just, like, matter of fact about it, you know? And I thought, that has to be what, like, truly it would be. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, like, something that she just thought about all the time and just, like, really, really wanted. And then the pill things and then being in the psychiatric ward and stuff, it was just, like, oh, man.
It was really intense.
Really intense, but it was such a good book.
It was, I'm very glad I read it.
I am too, and it kind of, like, pushes me a little bit to, like, stop it.
Yes.
Do what you want to do.
Me too.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
like, instead of, like, just thinking and psyching myself out all the time and, like, letting everything pass me by.
Yeah.
To, like, if I feel like I want to do it, I should just do it. You know, I shouldn't sit here and psych myself out about it. Just do it.
Carpe diem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Worst they're going to say is no. Or if I don't like it, then I can just stop doing it. You know, like, to just, yeah. Yeah.
Things got real in this episode.
It did, yeah.
Cool. I think we're done. Are we done?
Yeah, I think that's it. So,
Okay.
if you've read it, discuss it with us because, I mean, we really enjoyed it, obviously.
Yeah.
It really resonates with us. So, if it has with you, let us know. Or if you have different opinions, let us know.
Yeah.
So, comment below.
Come be our friends. I'm Jess Game of Tomes on Twitter.
And I'm Christeena, GOT.
And we hope you're reading a great book. Bye.
Bye. Lamp.
Lamp. Lamp. Lamp. I love lamp.
I've got, like, real powerful up in her. Y'all feel us?